Hello and welcome back to Winter Climbing Outlook. We are in the aftermath of Storm Bert now, and that was a pretty interesting storm to say the least. I'm going to quickly go over what that's left us with, and then what's happening for the rest of the week. It's looking a bit marginal, a bit of risk taking, a bit of gambling if you want to get some conditions, but I'll delve into that a bit more a little bit later. So you can see exactly when Storm Bert came through initially. So this is the station at the CIC hut on Holfoy. It's a really good resource. They've got webcam as well, live data every, I think, 2 minutes for the graphs and 15 minutes for the average charts. You can see here how quickly the temperatures changed through Saturday evening, going from a couple of degrees below freezing at the hut, so 700 meters just below, to nearly 10 degrees. Absolutely massive thaw came through. Similarly, there's a station on Dromocta at 700 meters, and this is a really useful one for the northern Cairngorms, because if it's negative degrees at 700 meters, with a northerly wind that those corries are going to be in pretty good nick. And you can see how quickly it just jumped from freezing to 7 degrees. So that's going to be way above freezing on the summit of Cairngorm itself. The slice blogs as well, they're quite depressing to look at, so I'm not going to spend too much time looking at them. The Fannecs have been completely destroyed. There's Anchalik there as well. Still some snow lying around, but that's going to be quite soggy, very sodden. And the Ben is just very sad to look at. That is very, very different to what we saw a couple of days ago. I imagine the gullies might have some lingering on. This isn't too strange for November time, but so today what we've got as Storm Bert continues east towards Scandinavia is we've got the westerly winds bringing some colder air back into circulation with precipitation as well. Exactly how much is falling is kind of up in the air, but it does look like it could be fairly significant, especially at the mountains which are at the forefront of this. But you do have to remember that this precipitation will be falling on a very sodden snowpack of what's left of it, so any snow that's left over from last week is going to be extremely wet, saturated, quite warm as well. So how well that attaches to that is to be seen. Going through to midweek, we've got high pressure sitting on top of us, so it's going to be very cold. It should firm up the snowpack very well. But the one thing to note with high pressure, especially in colder air masses, is it brings very little precipitation. So this is the gamble of the week: is how much moisture is in the air, and is that going to rime up the rocks? It's a decision that you're going to have to make. I'm not going to make it for you. You can see Mountain Forecast doesn't bring any precipitation at all. This is for Cairngorm summit, apart from the stuff that we've got today on this westerly southwesterly as Storm Bert moves through. Similarly, Ben More as well. It's only got the precipitation as Storm Bert's moving through on the westerly southwesterly. So west facing stuff is probably going to get a lot more rime than north and east facing. But then, when the winds do kind of veer further north in the high pressure, not only is the wind much lower because of the blocking system, but there's very little precipitation left as the lows moved really far east. And I'm going to go into this no pressure system in just a moment. That's coming through at the weekend. Here's the remains of Storm Bert. You can see it's got a very, very warm core. Wherever that's sitting, it's going to be very poor snow conditions. Just keeping an eye on where that moves and where that sits. The faster that moves away from us, the quicker we get the cold air and the quicker that the snow can firm up again. These are the temperatures at 850 hectopascals, so 1,500 meters. So if you add 2 or 3 of these, you'll get the temperatures on the tops. And this is through Tuesday night, going northwesterly winds now. And it is very, very cold with that high pressure sitting on top of us. Potentially inversion conditions as well. But again, it is just the precipitation and the moisture in the air that we do need to keep an eye on. So you can see here as the remains of Storm Bert clears eastwards, the amount of precipitation we're getting is going lower and lower as the high pressure starts to dominate. And this is Tuesday into Wednesday early morning. I see little, if any, precipitation is going to fall over the mountains, and with very little wind as well. It's very difficult to expect good rhyming on the rocks in this. And again, the Met, just because it's the most easiest to interpret and most people understand it, here is the low moving through, really strong southwesterly winds, and all the precipitation coming now, just freezing on the Munro tops. And as that veers through to the northerlies and the high pressure starts to dominate again, we have very little precipitation, very little winds, and the high pressure dominating, bringing clear skies, which is going to make nice walking conditions on the neve, and potentially neve on ledges. So Thursday is looking really nice walking conditions. If it's going to be good climbing conditions is yet to be decided. It's going to be very difficult to predict, and it's going to be a bit of a gamble if you are going to go for them. Exactly what, if anything, would get rimed is too difficult to predict, just because of the lack of moisture, the westerly wind direction when the moisture is moving through, and the very wet snowpack that we have got at the moment. Into the few days after that, we've got this low pressure coming back through again. You can see, you should be getting used to these graphs now, that the cold air is getting forced really far north really quickly. This is coming through Thursday evening at the moment. This is probably just going to like squish everything that we've got. Do I think there's going to be anything going at the weekend? No, is the short answer. It's looking very warm, very wet, very saturated snowpack. So going out from the Thursday, we've got a battle between the North Atlantic Oscillation and the high pressure block. You can on the left side of the jet stream we have the warm areas of low, which will keep moving through, and on the right side we have the high pressure blocking that's going to move further east. And basically where the jet stream sits will depend on which side of the air masses we're on. There's colder air to the north and there's warmer, drier air to the south. So the worst case scenario is that we get warm, dry, but also moist air in the middle of the jet stream. If we can the jet stream sits slightly further south, we'll get cold and potentially snowy conditions. If the jet stream sits further north, we'll get drier and brighter conditions. But as it stands, as it's sitting on top of us, we're going to get warm and wet as the low pressure systems spin and meet the warm air that's being brought up by the high pressure block. And that's just the trend for the next while as the jet sorts itself out. You can see here in the ECWMF the same kind of idea. So here's the high pressure sitting on us on Thursday, being moved away eastwards. A major thaw if this was happening during the winter, but if it sits slightly further south, we'd get lots of winter storm systems coming through. There are little pockets of cold air coming through, but this is all very uncertain. It's too far away to dictate all of this. And in the ensembles, the GFS operation, or the high resolution one, has us staying slightly colder, but pretty much every single run at the lower resolution has us sitting on the slightly warmer side of the jet. And for the regime probabilities, you can see it is just the block versus the positive North Atlantic Oscillation, and where we sit on that will really determine what weather we get for the end of the month into the first week of December. The ALCO model has shown this in a very interesting way. So here's the high pressure block to the east of us for the end of the week, and as that's moving through, it is putting us in a slightly more optimistic, with more the clash between the warmer and the colder air bringing through. So the takeaways from today are, we've got the westerlies coming through today, moving quite a lot of moisture and cold air through the country, potentially bringing nice rime and good conditions to west faces at high altitudes for today and tomorrow. And depending on how well that hangs on, it could potentially last into the high pressure. During the high pressure block, we're not going to get any riming of the rocks, but we will see consolidation within the snowpack as the temperature drops, and clearer skies at night allows the snowpack to freeze properly. But then into the weekend, we've got a lot of uncertainty with how the low pressure systems are going to move over for the next couple of weeks, and these just need higher resolution, which we get closer to the dates to be more precise about that. So I would personally just keep an eye on UKC, see what gets climbed, see what conditions we have. If anyone goes out on Tuesday, that would be really useful to see what the conditions of the snowpack are, conditions of the conditions left by this westerly colder air mass. And if they're really good, then you could get out Wednesday, Thursday on the nicer weather days. Obviously, stuff that is east or west facing is going to get a lot of sun on it and potentially melt very quickly in the sunny weather. But just keep an eye on what's happening. And this storm system is just deciding where it wants to go on the jet stream, and the jet stream is just going to dictate what happens after Thursday. But thank you very much for listening.